day. I was looking at your story last night and I was amazed. Really, it all starts, I guess, when you're 40. That you go to the doctor,
yeah,
and you kind of get a little bit of a dumb answer to a question.
Yeah.
And that was really the moment, I guess, that the things changed for you.
Yeah. I'd kind of been starting to get into fitness a little bit before that, but I just felt so terrible. Everything was like in a fog. It was really weird. And I was tired all the time, and I had all these I was having loads of hot flushes and all these different symptoms. So I went to the doctor, and basically they gave me the brush off. They were like, "Oh yeah, you're depressed. No, you've got stress and anxiety." Because at the time I was working in pharmaceuticals.
Right.
I had quite a sort of corporate job. They were like, "Yeah, it's stress. You need to just take these." I think they gave me Prozac, and I was like, so I was like, yeah.
They said come back in 4 or 5 years when you're properly sort of hitting what they felt was the time that they could treat menopause.
They said you're far too young for menopause. It won't be menopause.
Right.
Yeah, you need to come back in 5 or so years' time, and we'll test your hormones. Which again is completely wrong, because they don't actually need to test your hormones at all. They go on symptoms. They don't test hormones anymore because it's a very unpredictable measure. So everything. It was a male doctor, an old male doctor. And basically everything he said was completely wrong. But to be fair, at that time, menopause wasn't as talked about. I mean, it's only actually very recently, in the last 6 months or so, it's blown up, and everybody's talking about menopause now.
Right.
But then, nobody knew anything.
So, was it that day, or was it like did you mull over it for a while to think, I'm going to do something about this myself? Because you kind of took a DIY.
It wasn't that day, no, it took me a while. It took me, well, I moved to Spain when I was 45, so it took me 5 years to kind of sort through what I was doing and where I wanted to be. But I just knew I didn't really want to be where I was and do what I was carry on doing what I was doing. And
that move to Spain, like you quit your job, and I know you set up the Aurora Lifestyle Boot Camp and Paleo Lifestyle Boot Camp. Yeah. Was that in your head when you left for Spain? Was it already formulated?
Oh yeah, that was already formulated. Right. I'd been planning that for about a year before I left.
Wow.
So I planned it all. The reason I actually did that was because I went to a couple of boot camps in the UK and they were terrible. And I thought, you know what, I could do this better. So that's when I decided on the fact that I would set up a boot camp, but I wanted to do it somewhere nice and warm, somewhere a bit different, because it's no fun going to a boot camp in the middle of Yorkshire when it's freezing cold and muddy everywhere. So I set it up in Marbella. And yeah, it took a year in the making, so I planned it all, did a business plan, formulated everything, went over a few times to check out venues and whatnot, and yeah, it took a while.
And you did it too well, because it became so busy. I know you're at Hello Magazine, you're on Channel 4, and this idea that it sort of became 2 to 3 hours sleep a night because there's so much to do.
It blew up, yeah, it did really, really well. The first 2 or 3 years were mad, absolutely mental. It was, it was very, very, very busy. And like say, I was on A New Life in the Sun, I was in Hello Magazine, and it was doing extremely well. Yeah.
So it's a big kind of decision then to look at something that has already been very successful and is very successful, but you realise if I keep going this way, I'll probably collapse. I need to change gears again.
Yeah, I was at breaking point really, and coincidentally, kind of Brexit hit about that time.
Right.
It was announced in the first referendum, the first vote came through. And I kind of thought, oh, I can see things going a bit awry here. So, so I kind of decided at that point that I needed to change something, and I had decided at that point to sell it and change direction. And I didn't really know what I was going to do at that point. I just knew I was going to do something different. So I just kind of applied for lots of things all over the world, really. And very coincidentally, I ended up in Ireland.
Boom. Well, now there you are. You go back to a normal 9 to 5, we say, and it's probably got, you know, great benefit initially that you feel, well, this is so much easier than worrying every minute of every day about your own business. But obviously, the kind of itch was still there, though, to kind of again do your own thing, especially after you've trained and you know what you're dealing with here. You're a nutritionist, you've got level 4 personal trainer, so you kind of know how to do this. So I'm sure that was probably always in your mind, that I'm going to go back to that.
Yeah, it was really. I was never really satisfied working for someone else, but the job that I actually came over to Ireland to do was supposed to be quite a small job, 2 or 3 days a week, and the rest of my time I was going to do my own thing. But as it turned out, they kept saying, can you do this, and can you do that, and can you do this? And it turned out I ended up being national sales manager for Ireland. So it just became such a big job, and I had no time to do my own thing. But eventually I was kind of forced into it through COVID because I was actually made redundant when COVID occurred.
Okay.
So I was made redundant, and then I thought, okay, now is my chance. This is a sign. But obviously at that particular point it was very difficult to set up anything sort of fitness-wise because nowhere was open. You couldn't open a studio or anything. So it was just all the concepts and building the websites and things behind the scenes that I started then.
That's, in a way, as much as that's frustrating, it's probably kind of handy as well that you can kind of figure things out a little bit more than maybe you would have had time if you just jumped from one to the next.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing come this opening at the end of October, I'm guessing you're pretty much satisfied with all the plans you've made because you've thought them through.
Yes, it's been a while in the concept again, really. You know, I built a business plan, I built a website, I've spoken to lots of people, done lots of market research. I've been over and I've trained in the facilities that make the equipment that I'm getting. So yeah, I've done a lot of behind the scenes work, which I probably wouldn't have been able to do if I just jumped into it. So it's been quite good for me.
We will have the links above the video here, but you have got 3 steps when it comes to what you do for people.
Yeah.
And they're quite different in a way. You know, obviously the nutrition is one of the steps, but then EMS, for example.
Yes.
If you could let people know, I know this is electromuscular
stimulation.
There you go. But exactly what does that involve?
Well, EMS, electromuscle stimulation, has actually been around for a very long time, and it's been used within sort of physio and rehab for quite a long time because it can stimulate your muscles, and it stimulates them more than you would do in the gym, and it's a really good way of rehabbing patients who are
taser,
immobile.
Right? Sounds like a taser.
It's not a taser, no.
Okay.
It's basically a suit that you wear with electrodes in that give an electric pulse, which make people think, oh my god, you're going to electrocute me, but it's not like that at all. It's a very low frequency electric pulse. You've probably heard of something like slender tone, the slender tone belts that people used to wear. It's a very similar
I'm wearing
concept.
one right now.
I can tell. I can see you moving. It's a very similar concept to that, but it's a professional medical grade version of that, and it's basically a suit, a vest that you wear, and you wear straps around your legs and around your arms with the electrodes in, and that sends impulses to the muscles that would mimic the impulses that you normally get from your brain to your muscles.
Nice.
But because of the way it works, it's much more effective than going to the gym, for example. So one EMS session would be equivalent, it's a 20-minute session, so one 20-minute session is equivalent to 3 sessions in the gym, 3 60-minute sessions. So it's a very time efficient way of being able to build muscle and lose fat at the same time.
Would a vibrating chair do a similar thing? No.
No. Unfortunately not, no.
And we should mention that the other thing is, rather than just standing up on the weighing scales and say, well, this is the weight you are and this is what the weight you should be, you've got a 3D scan, which is much more about how the body's, you know, the composition of the body and how it actually fits together. So that's obviously a lot more kind of accurate and revealing about what you should be doing and how you should be living. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, weight is a very poor measure of any kind of progress when you're trying to either lose weight or gain muscle, because there's so many different factors that can affect it. So what I'm going to have is a 3D infrared scanner, body scanner, which basically does a 3D avatar of your whole body. So it measures your fat composition, your muscle composition, where your fat is stored. It also works out health risks based on your body composition and lots of other things. So it helps you visualize your progress, and it's a bit of a motivational tool really, because you would do a scan right at the beginning to see where you start, and then you would do other scans as you go along, and you can see your progress. And it takes like 380 different measurements of the body, so you know you have a huge amount of data there, and you can see it all visually, which is very useful.
I suppose the final thing I have to ask, because I forgot to ask you this before, the name. What does the name mean exactly, Volo?
Volo means I want or I desire.
Aha!
So obviously when people come to me, they want or they desire something, a transformation, either to lose fat, gain muscle, get healthier, whatever it may be. And I also wanted a short name, something that was kind of snappy and where people, just like yourself, would say, Volo, what does that mean? So I can then obviously tell them.
Beautiful. Well, as I said, we put all the proper information up in the text, and we put in the links to get how to get in contact with you.
Yeah.
But I wish you the best of luck now. This will be down at the Go Gym, October 20th. What was the date you said?
Well, I'm hoping to open end of October, beginning of November. I haven't got a final absolute date yet.
Well, we'll splash it out and let people know the actual date.
Yeah.
Nicely done.